Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Firefighters podcast. Today I speak with Charlie Thompson, a UK-based firefighter who is doing 55 miles in full fire kit, raising money for a fantastic cause. As a young guy, Charlie did a lot of traveling and went out and met a close friend of his, Henry Jennings, who sadly passed away at the beginning of this year as part of a road traffic collision. Charlie's got one hell of a physical background from his maritime experiences and his world of CrossFit. He is no stranger to pushing himself to the limits, and he's come up with an awesome idea, having recently joined the operational fire service, to utilize his hungry mindset to push himself to the limit for a really, really important cause. It's a pleasure to have Charlie on the show and be able to support this great cause as part of the Firefighters podcast. Once again, we are sponsored by the wonderful William Wood watches. These are made from 100% recycled fire service equipment, once forgotten, now reborn. Each one of their watches contains a piece of history. William Wood was the name of the owner's late grandfather, and he served in the British Fire Service for over 25 years, winning commendations for his acts of bravery. Head over to WilliamWoodWatches.com and check out their beautiful collection right now. Use code FFP5 and grab yourself a discount at WilliamWoodWatches.com. On today's episode, we welcome PBI Performance Products. PBI products are protection without compromise. Now, PBI fabrics have been renowned for their unique combination of flame resistance, durability, and comfort. I have worn PBI products since starting my career 13 years now, and they are the very first choice in protection for pretty much every extreme condition, from NASA astronauts to emergency responders, the military, Formula One. They have created a legacy of protection that is recognized all over the world. We are so privileged to have them as a sponsor on the podcast. We're also incredibly proud to welcome a new sponsor to the podcast, Blue Light Card. That's right, you know who they are. Blue Light Card provides those in the NHS, emergency services, social care sector, and armed forces with discounts online and in-store. Now, I've been aware of these for many, many years, but it wasn't until I spoke to some of the other members of the team, Rachel and Sarah, when I really understood how much these guys give back to the communities. They really are going above and beyond to support those heroes within our communities. With online discounts, high street discounts, they've got the free app, and they've got such a massive range of national retailers, local businesses, including holidays, cars, days out, fashion, gifts, insurance, phones, and so much more. You can follow the link below and head over to Blue Light Card and register for one today. Start accessing their thousands of discounts. It's so important that we remember what our emergency responders do, and this is a company that really has found a unique way to recognize and reward those people by going above and beyond themselves and showing how much we appreciate what they do. So proud to be welcoming Blue Light Card as a sponsor. They are here for you because you have been here for all of us. Through the good times, through the bad times, through the pandemic, out on the front line, kicking ass, taking names, and keeping everybody safe and sound. So head over to bluelightcard.co.uk and register today and become part of that community. So let's jump in there and speak with Charlie about this incredible challenge that he is going to put himself up to the test. I always love speaking to somebody that's going after some crazy mixed up challenge that to some people just seems so ridiculous. It's great to share this chat with Charlie today, and I know you're going to enjoy it as well. So let's jump in there with Charlie, and I will see you on the other side. Charlie Thompson, welcome to the Firefighters podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
That was a lovely professional answer. Very low. I like it. We're off to it. Now, Charlie, you are an operational firefighter in the UK, and whilst I would love to put myself in the same bracket as you, you are definitely a bit of a physical beast as well. And sort of our conversation came about today because I learnt of a fellow freak within the fire service going after a bit of a physical challenge, which is not a rare thing because there's a few of us out there. But what really touched me was the whole kind of why behind what you're doing. So for the benefit of the listeners, why are you on the podcast today, and tell us all about this challenge?
So the reason why I've come up with this challenge, I mean, it's not as such, I've created it because I wanted to, obviously being in this lockdown situation, it's hard to sort of physically and mentally challenge yourself without obviously going to the gym or doing this, that and the other.
Totally agree. So, I've found that the hardest part, and I feel very blessed that I've sort of created a gym for myself, accumulating kit over the past decade, and I've gotten really lucky. But I know even for myself, it's been bloody challenging. Yeah,
completely. I mean, you can't just now go into a place and have all the set kit there. I mean, like you just said, you've got to accumulate it over time, or even just borrow it off mates. You might have a piece of kit in the garage. But, I mean, with this challenge, I found that my piece of kit, essentially, is the outdoors. I mean, it's right there at your doorstep. So,
and that's quite hard for people these days because we're drawn to complexity, aren't we? We like to have lots of Gucci complex things to.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's the willingness to, step out of that comfort zone and maybe just push yourself to trying new things. I've always been an outdoor person. Don't get me wrong. But I've also, in my fitness career, I've been so used to working inside a gym where everything's there, ready for you to play with it.
So what is the challenge you've set for yourself?
I've got a friend over in Nottingham Fire and Rescue Service. I wanted to think of a challenge that hasn't really been done before, but also using the kit that I use every single day. So what I'm doing is I'm walking 55 plus miles because there's a couple of different routes that we might have to take, essentially wearing all firefighter kit, breathing apparatus, boots, gloves, flashers, helmet, the lot.
55 miles?
55 miles.
So
maybe
like 2 marathons, 57. Basically.
Yeah.
Which is no small feat for anybody that's even done a half marathon. This is pretty intense. And you're going to be doing this wearing full PPE and your set as well, isn't it?
The set, cylinder, full cylinder, the lot, everything. No corners cut.
So what's that weighing in at? That's I remember doing some of the stair climbs. It's like an extra 21, 22 kilos, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, well, with a full charged cylinder, it's around 22 kilos.
Which is nearly 4 stone.
You've got to think about. Correct, yeah.
That's a hell of a lot. That's like carrying a child for 2 marathons.
It's like carrying 2 of me.
Basically.
I'm not a big lad, but I might weigh a bit after joining the fire service.
So when did you first join the fire service?
So I joined January 2019. That's when my training course started. So I'm literally now coming to the end of my probation, as you like.
Wow. So you're literally just in the end of your probation and you're already trying to go into what is quite an intimidating challenge, both in terms of physical fitness, but like I say, you've only been wearing the kit for a couple of years. So what inspired you to do a challenge like this?
I've always been one for just coming up with daft ideas. I like the endurance side of things. I've always been brought up with, the mindset of rather than, doing things in halves and quarters, I want to do the whole thing. So I did a marathon about 8 years ago for the first time. Yeah, it hurt. And you're going to hit those boundaries and hit those walls. But that's what I like. That's what drives me because that's where I see my limits. Yeah. If I don't see my limits, then I think, well, I haven't pushed myself hard enough. And how far can I go?
Yeah, I actually feel quite a lot of stress and discomfort with not getting pushed to those limits. And it's hard to continually try and think things up to do it. I often just get really bored and just set myself a challenge of like 200 burpees, which is rubbish and sucks. Do you know what I mean? But it's my way of seeking discomfort. It was one of the first reasons I started getting in ice baths every single day because I wanted something that was really going to push me. And I find that a seriously uncomfortable experience every time I do it.
Definitely. I haven't tried the ice bath yet, but I will.
When the restrictions lift, you are going to have to come over, and we will film it and dunk you in 0 degrees. And I'll tell you what, mate, the adrenaline that surges and the cortisol and the adrenaline norepinephrine that pumps through the system is, we know about the old fight or flight instinct, but it really takes that to right to the forefront of your mind because you don't belong in an environment like that, and you become acutely aware of the fact that if you stay in there too long, the body ain't going to survive.
Yeah, the whole Wim Hof.
Wim Hof, baby. Regime. Dude's my hero. Love him. So 55 miles is the target. When are you going to be carrying this challenge out?
So it's going to be going on the 14th of June, starting at the furthest north fire station in Nottinghamshire. So I think it's Haworth Fire Station. And then it's going to go right across to the furthest south Manchester fire station, which will be Cheadle. That's where it's going to finish.
Crikey. So have you got like a support crew that's going to join you? Because you imagine you're going to be walking the streets predominantly. Yeah,
it's going to be road routed.
Yeah.
Purely because I think it is important that we do have that support van or support vehicle, however many there might be. As soon as you start going off route onto a footpath, something can go wrong, and you've got no support there.
Are you going to try and do it in a while then, or will there be any rest during it?
Yeah, my aim is to do it around the 18-hour mark.
So
the goal is to do it in 24 hours.
You're just going to do it. Oh, mate, I love
Yeah,
that.
completely.
I absolutely love that.
So that's the aim. That's the goal. Whether it plays out like that, I'll leave it in the
when we
hands of
set
the
these
gods.
things up, when we're sat in the lounge with a brew and something like that, and we think, you know what? Yeah, I think 24 hours is a nice little round mark, and we don't envisage the rain and the turmoil. But secretly, that sadistic side of us is also hoping that the challenges do come up, because I know, whilst you're seeking the challenge, you know what you're capable of as well, and you know that in perfect conditions you're going to nail this. Otherwise, I know you wouldn't be putting your name to it. But there will no doubt be some challenges that crop up along the route.
Exactly. But I think the one thing that's pushing it on is the whole reason why I'm doing it. There's always got to be a reason why. You don't just go out and do it for no reason.
No. And you've leveraged a serious why behind making yourself do a challenge like this.
Earlier on this year, we lost a good family friend. His name was Henry Jennings. He was his mum and dad are best mates with my dad, and they've sort of grown up over the years in the work industry. They work in the oil industry. So I met Henry, I'd say, just before Christmas 2014 over in Brisbane. I finished my maritime security career then. I just thought I'd had enough. And with the earnings that I made, I thought, you know what, I fancy going out to Australia for the first time. And my dad said, well, my best mate, Peter's out there and he's got a son there, so you can hang out over in Brisbane in a place called Moolaba, which is just off the Sunshine Coast.
Sounds amazing.
So yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible. One of the best things I have actually gone out and done.
Surprised you came back.
Henry, yeah, well, so am I, to be honest. So am I. I didn't actually want to leave, but funds made that idea, or made that choice for me. And Henry took me out on this little tinny. It's like a little metal boat, literally just made of sheer metal. That was it.
Yeah.
And he just took me around his neighbourhood, as you would do, like in a car on the roads. But he decided to take me out on the little. It's almost like little water ravines, but leads you to everybody's houses.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's probably one of the best self holidays I've ever had. But the lad is just there's not a bad bone in his body. I couldn't speak any more highly of him. And unfortunately, New Year's Day, he was knocked over and killed. Drunk driver knocked him over.
Jesus.
And so I just wanted to do something in almost like a good memory of him.
Yeah,
and I was speaking to his dad, and his dad was saying, if he could and if he was here, he'd be right next to you doing whatever daft, crazy exercise challenge you do next. So I thought this would be a really good, like, a memory for him, like a little challenge just to remember him, even though it's daft and crazy. But that's what Henry is. He's that sort of person. He's just full of excitement. Everywhere he goes, he leaves someone with a smile on the face.
Yeah.
And that's him through and throughout.
I mean, that gives you that real strong why to push you through those moments when I know it's going to be challenging, because there's bound to be some setbacks.
Oh, 100%, yeah. All the way through, from the first kilometre to the last mile, there's always going to be little setbacks throughout the entire thing. But you've got that reason why in the back of your head, which is going to push you on all the time.
Love it. So you've been getting loads of exposure with this, which is fantastic. But I wanted to ask you a little bit in and around why you decided to join the fire service in the first time, because you had an enjoyable career, or so it would seem on the outside of it, doing the maritime work. But what made you want to leave that and join the fire service?
Since the age of 16, I joined the army, and throughout my 6 years career, it's instilled that a sense of belonging. And your life's, I wouldn't say in a negative way, regimented, but it give it that structure. And I think since leaving the army, I've always found that I've lost that sense of belonging. I've lost that structure in life. I was going from one place to another career-wise. Maritime-wise, it gave it a bit back because you worked with those like-minded people. It was essentially all ex-servicemen, or a majority of was ex-servicemen. So you had that little brotherhood.
Yeah.
Also, or what you could call it, behind you. But I think joining the fire service sort of give that back. You're working with again, like-minded people. You've got that structure in life. Everything's not so set out, but you've got this.
Yeah, it's in the middle ground somewhere, isn't it? Because you have that purpose as well. You've got a reason to get up in the morning, and that what you're doing makes a real difference. But there's also the aspects of family and brother and sisterhood and stuff like that, because you get the opportunity to go into some sometimes quite harrowing situations with people that have that they've got your back and they've gone through similar training, and it's a really lovely in between ground, and I know it attracts a lot of ex-service personnel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could be on a job with someone who's had 5 days in the job, or 10 years, 20 years, however long, and you've all done the same thing. You're all in the same situation, but essentially you're all going for that, that same goal, which is to help other people. Yeah. So that's what's really drawn me to the fire service more than any other service out there. I think that's the one service which I thought, I could do well in this. And I think I belong in this,
Thinking about going into it before you've actually gone into it is one or two very different things. What was your basic training like? Because you're in that quite unique position where you're fresh out of your development, I suppose. And I didn't go through my training probably 13 years ago now. So what was basic training like for you, for anybody that's thinking about joining the fire service?
At the start, it's what felt like a long 16 weeks.
Yeah. Was it a residential?
No, it used to be residential.
I know some brigades still do, but it's a bit different now.
Yeah, it was all based in central Manchester. So we essentially get there, and out of that 16 weeks, it was brought down into the first 4 weeks. You'd obviously learn your pumping and your ladders, all the basics. And then once you progress past that, obviously these are all your assessments at the end of these week periods or 4 week periods, depending on what structure it is, you'd be assessed on it, and then you'd move forward. So after the basics, so the ladders and the pumping, you then move into almost like a round robin effect of training.
Okay.
So you'd move on to learning your basics of RTC, onto your rope rescue training, and then obviously onto your trauma. Trauma was a big one. Yeah, that's one everybody was sort of worried about, because
really,
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to take in on your trauma. A lot of it is a lot of theory work, and
was it different for yourself though? Because you've got a background in sort of personal training, so the physiology aspects of it, did that make it easier or harder for you, or would you never really become too confident with it?
Physiology, that made it a little bit easier, and obviously having a military background, you're not as squeamish as what you might find other people are. Some people can take things, some people can't.
That is one of the strange things about trauma and fatalities and stuff like that. I suppose people may have looked at you in your role and expected that you were okay with it or something like that, but it can be very different for everybody.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Everybody's different. Everybody sort of takes it differently to everybody else. But I think with me is I'm not the most academic person.
That's a nice way.
That was my worry. That was my worry. But the physical side of things, I was probably more stronger at. Yeah. And when it came to trauma, that's actually one topic I actually really did enjoy. I like getting into the nitty gritty of, learning about the body and how it works, and different techniques of how to stop trauma, like traumatic incidents and stuff like that.
Hemorrhages and stuff like
that. Exactly. I really enjoyed that. Whereas the academic side of things, when it came to the written tests and stuff like that, that's where I sort of struggled a little bit. But there was people around there to obviously help me.
Love it. So you spoke a lot there, or you spoke in and around the physical aspects of how you felt you sort of been able to hold your own and potentially progress a little bit easier than some of the other people. Obviously, you do a lot of personal training and stuff outside of the service, but I know one of the big factors for people joining the service can be the physicality of it. How have you trained to get yourself fit coming into the service, and perhaps how has that changed in preparation for this challenge as well?
Well, prior to joining the fire service, I did a lot of CrossFit training and endurance training. So I was big into my CrossFit for 5-6 years prior to this. So that's the physical side of things. That's really helped. Shifting large, heavy loads over long periods of time and distance.
Yeah. But did you ever do any competitive aspects with it?
I did more local competitive competitions. So like things like over in Manchester, you had the Train Games, which obviously they put together, I think it was an actual box over in Manchester. They run quite a large competition out there where lots of other boxes from around the country or gyms from around the country got to compete against each other. But you have 3 categories of difficulty. So obviously, if you were a novice to the whole thing, you were against like-minded athletes. If you were really high up in the game, you know, you were amongst those that have trained to that level. So you were never really competing if you were a novice against the strongest person in Britain.
What first drew you towards CrossFit? Because CrossFit is a bit of it can sometimes be given a bit of a bad rap, and some people still aren't really familiar with it. Some people have worries about impact and too much high intensity. What is it that drew you to CrossFit?
It's funny. I first knew about CrossFit when I was on a tanker ship in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Somebody had it saved on the laptop, and they said, "Oh, have a look at this." So I looked at it, and I think I was watching one of I think it was like CrossFit Games 2000.
Yeah. Have you read his biography?
I've not read his audio, but no, I've seen a few of the videos.
It's really interesting. Listen.
But at the time, I'll definitely have to have a lesson on it.
Oh, mate, he's
awesome. But at that time, I looked at it and thought, this is a bit mad. So I backed off on it a little bit, and then the lads was like, right, well, let's just write one of these workouts down that they've got, you know, one of their benchmark workouts.
Yeah.
And using whatever pieces of equipment that were around. So, for instance, my box jumps were where we tied the rope off on the ships, you know, the big steel barrels on the side of the ships where you have to, O-ring barrels. My box jumps were on top of that. My pull-ups were on exhaust pipes hanging from the underneath the stairways. Some of the squat jumps I'd be going twice as high because the ship's rocking and waving.
Yeah, talk about doing it in a precarious environment, Greg.
Exactly. But I learned to quite enjoy it because it pushed me to levels where, you know, I hadn't sort of been before in those training environments. So when I come back, I was quite keen on learning a bit more about CrossFit. I found our local CrossFit box over when I used to live in Bolton, and then it just sort of went from there. And funny enough, that's where I actually met my wife.
Bonus all round, baby.
That's it, yeah. So she was quite a high-end CrossFit athlete. She was at the pinnacle for around the UK, but she was also a sports injury therapist.
Oh,
so
wow.
I actually properly met her when I injured my wrist doing CrossFit stuff.
Okay. She clearly said, you're just doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to the local CrossFit box where she worked. She was actually working out of to do the therapy stuff. And I met her there, but I also was a CrossFit judge. I did a judging course online and did quite a lot of the competitions, not essentially as an athlete at the time, but more as a judge as well, because I enjoyed judging that element to it as well. You know, I got to meet her, and I think the relationship just blossomed after that.
Awesome. So you guys have obviously had fitness as a big part of your life, but sort of as we alluded to earlier, some people coming into the service really struggle with that aspect of fitness. And you guys, you've just opened up a new gym as well, haven't you? Yeah.
So my wife and her 2 business partners have gone in, and it was a tricky time thinking about opening up a gym, but it fell at the right time, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So the previous owner, he, you know, was looking to get rid of the gym, and somebody mentioned it to my wife, and she thought, you know what, let's just go for it. They got the premises, all the kit involved and included as well. So we just went for it, and we're in the middle of refurbishing it now, and it's going to be called PT for You Training. So
that's incredible, mate. I know we'll drop the link in the thing below, but I saw some of the stuff, and obviously I've been seeing your training, and it looks like you've picked a wonderful time to do it because, you know, the limitations and the restrictions of this crazy COVIDian time that we're in at the minute look as though they're starting to lift, and people will be hungry to get back there after it.
Oh, definitely. I think it's going to be like a January event where there's just going to be a mass influx of people.
It's going to be crazy. The gyms will absolutely be full. So coming back to the different training aspects that you've sort of experimented with in the past, what have been the things that you felt have served you best in your basic training and stuff like that to be able to allow you to continue to, you know, lift and shift the kit every single day, and also obviously with the breathing apparatus aspects as well?
I train a lot with the wife anyway, so we train 5-6 days a week, And it is around the whole, the CrossFit training where we're lifting, doing lots of weightlifting. We'll do loads of cardio classes. I love my endurance work. I like to shove a burger on my back and just go off for a few hours and come back. And I think that really does resonate with the work that we do in the fire service. We're constantly picking up kit, shifting it around. If we're on a fire job, then, we've got the BA set on the back. You've got to get used to that weight on your shoulders and on your hips.
100%.
So it's all about adapting to your surroundings. So if you can pick up a piece of kit and make use of it, then just do it, because that's essentially what you're going to be doing in your work anyway.
100%. I mean, have you competed in any of the British Firefighter Challenge aspects or any of those things?
No, I've not personally, no.
Oh, mate, you need to be getting yourself into it this year.
Yeah, well, I've not really looked into it up until I was told about it by one of the lads over in Salford. Him and the lad has competed in it. And
mate, I think you would be an absolute beast for it. I think people wouldn't know what they were unlocking, because anybody that's competed in CrossFit or that has a good understanding of it usually has a fairly strong base level of fitness. So I think you'd be awesome at it.
Yeah. I'm not shying away from it. I'll definitely give it a go. Yeah, I'm not writing it off. That's me not saying no.
But I know from conversations we've had previous to this, a big part of what you do, both physically and in your career and also mentally, is trying to seek that, we spoke about seeking discomfort, but also seeking that personal development. If you could speak around what that means to you in terms of developing yourself, not just through your basic training, but even beyond that.
Well, it's when I talked about constantly adapting these to surroundings. Every day is a learning day. You're never going to have the same day over and over again. You turn up, and then when the bell goes, you don't know where or what you're turning up to. It could be a little job. It could be like one of the biggest jobs you've had. But essentially, it's going to be a completely different job, isn't it? So, and that's why it's important that you constantly learn on station, so that when you do turn up to that job, you're ready for it, and you know exactly what you do, where you need to be, what pieces of kit you need to rip off the truck and bring to that actual incident. Quite like the aspect of learning on station, not just with my own station. When you get detachments out to other stations, because you see how they work, see what ideas they bring, you can adapt that and bring that into your toolbox, as you say, and adapt it. That's what I love about the job, is constantly learning every day on the job, on training, with new people, new surroundings.
That's how common have you found that in the emergency services? I mean, when you come from a previous world of more military-based service, was that something you've always had? Because I know, just speaking from experience, some people can find that sort of mindset exhausting to be around. I'm always hungry for personal development, but some people can be guilty of sort of resting on their laurels, I suppose.
Yeah, they can be, but I see it as though if you rely on almost the basics, then how far are you going to be able to achieve, or how far are you going to be able to push, or is it going to be a quicker way of resolving a situation? You're never going to know that until you push those boundaries of, being hungry.
100%. I love that aspect. I love what you say about staying hungry as well. That's always, for me, the challenge is I've got it tattooed on my arm. No matter where I go, no matter what I've achieved, I'm no better than anyone, but also no one else is better than me, and everyone has the opportunity to be your teacher if you can let go of enough pride and be curious enough to want to learn. How did you maintain that curiosity for learning?
Well, I just don't think you're never going to be in a situation where you know everything.
Absolutely, especially in this job.
That's one thing, and it's not just a job for me. It's a passion. It's a love. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So,
I think that's so much the case. But so few people are able to plug into that, because even with the job that you're passionate about, you're still going to have the challenging days. I mean, I've been in the fire service 13 years now. I absolutely love it, but you still have those tough days as well.
Exactly, yeah. You're always going to have those tough days. It's being able to make yourself accountable for it, have that resilience, recover quicker and resolve those difficult situations, but also being able to rely on the people around you for support.
Yes.
Because that's what essentially you've got in the fire service. That's that brotherhood. You've got your brothers and sisters around there to pick you up when you think you can't do it yourself. And that's what the beauty about being in the fire service is, or any service. You've got that family bond between you.
Absolutely, could not agree with you more. So, looking ahead to this challenge, when is it happening? What date is it happening?
14th of June.
Crikey, so you've still got a bit of time to head in for it yet. What does training look like for you between now and then?
So what I've been doing is I've been whacking a Bergen on my back, and if I'm on station during the days, I'll just hit the treadmill for about 45, 60 minutes, whatever, and progressively build up that weight. Now what I try and do is I aim for a heavier weight than what I'm carrying, so that when it comes to the day, obviously it's going to feel a little bit lighter, a little bit easier.
Train hard, win easy.
Exactly. And then I'll sort of taper off maybe a couple of weeks prior to it, come back down, maybe off the weight completely, and just spend a little bit longer on my days off, possibly walking, a couple of hours maybe, lots and lots of stretching and mobility work. That's one thing that you've got to make sure that you've got to.
That's less and less common these days, though. Do you know what I mean? One of the first things I always talk to clients about is mobility and functional movement and the range of movement around a lot of joints, and also postural issues. Did you start focusing back in, or have you always focused on range of movement and flexibility?
Oh, mate, don't get me started with stretch and mobility. I never really took much advantage of that, only up until recently, to be honest. I was like, let's just go in hard and fast, and let's just get this workout done and smashed. And then once it was finished, I was like, right, okay, brilliant, let's go. I never really took the time to really think about the mobility side of it or the recovery side of it, because that's essentially, where you see your gains is in the rest and recovery.
Oh, 100%. I'm terrible at it. I really am. I'm good at stretching. I stretch every single day now, but I find I use fitness as a bit of a mental crutch, to be honest. So I find it hard to go a day without making something hurt. Yeah,
I completely agree. If I haven't done, if I'm not thinking of some daft, weird challenge that's going to push me to my absolute limit, then I feel that there's something wrong. That's just my mentality. That's how I see myself. Going, to the day I die. That's what I constantly want to do. I want to see my limit. If you don't see your limits, then what's the point?
Let's say adversity introduces a person to themselves, and you don't really know who you are until you've brought yourself to that limit.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that. That's what essentially I think you're on this planet to do, is find yourself. You can go here for a 9 to 5 and just plod along, and on your days off you just do nothing. What are you achieving? Until you push yourself to the ultimate limit, I don't think I've achieved. I might see failures across the way, but I see those failures as steps of improving myself to make a better me.
100%. You found out what doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Each one was an opportunity to see what doesn't work, and it's a demonstration that you're trying. It's a demonstration that you have gotten close to your capacity. And otherwise, if you just nail everything, you just walk around smashing every single workout and every single challenge. All that means to me personally is that you have you've misinterpreted your limitations, because realistically you can't be anywhere near them yet.
Exactly. Yeah. If a challenge is way too easy, then it's not a challenge.
Absolutely.
It's just something it's just an obstacle that's in the way. But failure is just as important as success, I think.
Oh, mate, 100%. I try and fail at least once a week if I can. Your reach should always exceed your grasp. Do you know what I mean? I go for so many things that are just slightly beyond me at this point in time. And I think the hardest thing that a lot of people find with that, and I used to find it as well, is that every time you do that, you have to sacrifice a little bit of pride sometimes. But we envy children because they are so uniquely curious about life. But that's also how they become such quick learners. And they become so successful and fulfilled and happy, because they've just let go of a lot of those inhibitions and they're just going for it.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more on that. I'd say one of my biggest failures, and it's something I'm trying to work on now and get ready to do again. Back in 2014, I thought, do you know what? I do loads of CrossFit. I do loads of running. I can go out and smash an Ironman. And an Ironman was coming up that year. So I joined 2 weeks before the start of the Ironman. So I didn't bother doing any of the training, which was obviously what you should have really been focusing on, because it takes a good 6 months to a year, I think, to train up for an Ironman. I got as far as the first lap, the end of the first lap of the cycle. After the swim, I thought, not bad swim. Got onto the bike, boom. Oh, I was a goner. And I didn't finish that. Yeah, I didn't finish it. I came a couple of minutes or about a minute under the time for the second lap, and they stopped it. And it's devastating. 2 weeks after that, I sold all my kit because I was that ashamed of myself. But it gave me that drive to push on and train even harder. Now I've got my kit back again, and I've got I've got that hunger to go out and crack an Ironman out. But I'm thinking outside the box as well. I don't just want to do an Ironman. I want to try a Norseman, which is like an Ironman, but over in Norway, where you essentially, rather than running into a lake, you're jumping off the back of a car ferry in a lake in somewhere in Norway.
I would love to do that.
But it's those failing moments that make you want to do more. Not just achieve what you wanted to achieve at the time.
It's all about how you choose to see it, though, isn't it? It's all about about perception. Is this the beginning or is it the end? Is this the end of my triathlon career, if you will, or my beginning of my love or my wrestle or my challenge with endurance? You know what I mean? I reference people like Goggins. David Goggins is a guy that he was dramatically overweight at one period of time in his life, and only through so many consistent failures, and he really has had them, even if it's not been one that's been publicly shared. It'll been a personal failure of, his inability to sleep, wetting the bed, or it might be, his broken legs and running on his shins when they had so many shin splints, or his injuries in his mobility and his stretching and stuff like that, or failing the pull-up challenges. There's so many places that he's failed, yet we all speak so openly about this incredibly inspiring and successful individual. I mean, if anybody's not read his book, Can't Hurt Me, it's a wonderful start, and I'm sure between the two of us, we could just rattle off so many aspects of mental fortitude and mental toughness, as I see it regularly referred to as, and I love that. It's these freaks and even people like yourself, I use that term as a massive compliment, going after a challenge such as this, because it stands for something important to you, and you're willing to put yourself out there on the line and say, you know what, I'm going to nail this, I'm going to do it in 24 hours, just because it's there to be done, and hopefully that will act as a trigger of inspiration to keep that going.
Well, massively. I mean, I find that a lot of people are too afraid to go up against failures.
Absolutely.
If they find that they failed at it, they'll be like, oh, well, I can't do that. And
I'm not making myself look stupid. I'm not putting myself out there like that to embarrass myself in front of everybody. Look at what I've got to lose. What have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose.
Exactly. You've got nothing to lose. You've only got everything to gain.
100%.
If you fail at something, if you fail at it, it should give you that massive hunger just to go and smash it. That's the reason why you should do it, because you failed at it. Go and try it again.
Failure should provoke curiosity. I see failure as the father of, it can be the father of many things. It can be the father of curiosity, of innovation, resourcefulness, or it can be another nail in the coffin of an unfulfilled life who's going to live so smack bang in the middle of their comfort zone, numb to the opportunities around them, because all they see them is as opportunities to fail versus opportunities to grow.
Exactly, and you're never gonna grow unless you push yourself to those limits again. You'll just stay at the same line.
Absolutely, brother.
That's just not good enough for me.
So for people that want to see you go and smash this, as I know you will anyway, if I were a betting man, I'd be banging some serious money on this. How can they support your event, and how can they support this great thing that you're doing?
A little bit closer to the time, I will be posting out a route and for everybody to see, but the website on Facebook and everything, the local Brigade websites as well, and the intranet, that's all out. The actual charity I'm doing it for, the Firefighters charity, they are trying to get in touch with all the fire stations that are along the route that I'm doing, to come out and get some support in. Obviously, with times right now at a social distance, but there is links out there for the charity. There's links out there for Henry's charity, because parents are posting out a charity themselves.
Absolutely. We'll drop all of that in the notes for the episode.
Definitely, yeah. There's a few people from lots of different stations that are going to come and join us for a couple of miles along the way. So whether it be in a car or on a bike or just running or walking next to me, definitely not running.
I was going to say they can run all they like, but they're going to expectation of 55 miles. Are you going to be doing it in your fire service boots? Because I'm not sure how your feet are going to manage that.
Yes. Now that's the biggie for me. The whole reason why I'm doing it in the boots, obviously I don't want to be cutting any corners. I'm not saying that people are cutting corners doing it previously, because it's a feat in itself just doing that distance. But for me, I contacted Guinness World Records to apply for this challenge, as it's not been done before at this distance in full kit, and that's including firefighting boots. So this will be the first time it's been done with cylinder, breathing apparatus, helmet, flash hood, full kit, that's inner and outer tunic, wet legs, fire boots.
So potentially, once completed, this will be able to get you in the record books. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's the aim. It's not the big achievement. It's like a bonus. It's a bonus for the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it's that
it'd be a great way to concrete.
To,
yeah, it'd be a great to concrete Henry's legacy as well.
Exactly. It's like a bonus homage for Henry being able to achieve this, and it's in his name. It's all for him. It's a memory for him, and for me to do that little bit, you know, it would mean the world to myself, and hopefully it would mean a lot to his mum and dad. That's the main reason why I want to do it. Say a massive thank you as well for, you know, helping me, you know, push it forward to everybody and get as many people involved as possible.
Mate, that's exactly what the podcast is all about for me. It's trying to find people who are going after it, who are keeping the dream alive in terms of, you know, people in the motor shifts really pushing themselves. Because even in your career, you'll know that it's not necessarily enormously common anymore that people are trying to push themselves and people are trying to go above and beyond their normal operational roles to do things like this. So that's why when I see people doing it, I want to try and help support them and try and help them tell their story. And, you know, I think we captured some great pieces today.
Oh, I really appreciate it, man. It means honestly the world to me. And I'm sure Peter and Alison will really appreciate it as well. You know, just getting their son's legacy out there again. He deserves nothing less. Really, honestly, really appreciate it. Couldn't have asked for anything better.
All right, Mama. Well, send love to the good lady and very, very good luck with the new gym. Stay strong, and I'll speak to you soon.
Will do. Take care, mate.
See you, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you out, mate.
That was my chat with Charlie Thompson. Really inspiring dude, new into the emergency services with a cool maritime background and a real desire for personal development. I love what Charlie said about failure and about pushing himself to the limit, having that desire to find a way to truly carve his potential out. I have absolute faith that Charlie is going to smash this challenge as he rolls up to it towards June this year. Gives us so much time and opportunity to contribute to this great cause. We're going to drop the links below for Charlie himself for you to share and support this fantastic work. And I know a little closer to the time they're going to be looking to start raising money, and you can already connect with Henry's charity, obviously what Charlie is doing this in the name of, and also the Firefighters charity based right here in the UK. A big thanks to Charlie for coming on and taking time out of his day to share the story of Henry and the big challenge that he's undertaking. And also a massive thank you to yourself for taking time out of your busy day. Be here with us to share in Henry's story, to share in Charlie's challenge, and to support emergency services personnel all over the world. I really do not take your time for granted, so thank you so much for coming back, and I look forward to introducing my next guest again real soon right here on the Firefighters podcast.